Hello everyone. I'm today going to describe one point which is nothing but inflection. What is that? Inflection. As you all are very known to this term, inflection. Inflection is the rate of increase in price. What is this? Increase in price is known as inflection. So it is different from only increase in price. For example, if price of commodities increase from 10 to 12, so inflation will be 20%. Okay, it will be 20% of inflation, and therefore rate of change in the real concern. This means that it is possible to control inflation even in the price increase. For example, continuing the above example, if price further rises from 12 to 13, now it's increasing from 12 to 13, then what will be the inflation? This will be 8.33%. Okay, this will be the 8.33%. Therefore inflation has come down from 20 to 8.33%. So before that was the 20%, now it is 8.33%. Okay, but price is still rising. But what you saying, there was first 10 to 12, now 12 to 13, price is still rising. In spite of rise in price is called inflation. So what that will call, this is called the disinflation. Okay, but there is not like increase in inflation, there is disinflation in that. So if there is a fall in price, then it is called deflation. So it is a disinflation 20 to 8.33. But if fall in price, like if 12 to 10 it is now, then that will be known as deflation. What that will be known as? Deflation. So there are three terms now we read. First is inflation, second is what we read here. First is inflation, second is disinflation, and third is deflation. So these three terms are we use generally while we reading this type of chapters. Okay, so inflation is a measure from one year to another due to rise in average price of commodity. So what is inflation? This is rise in average price of commodity. If average price is rising of the commodity, that is known as the inflation. So measured as an index of price taken from wholesale or retail market. Therefore inflation is not measured over a single commodity, it is measured over a set of commodities. So now I am describing some concepts of inflation. So these concepts are hyperinflation. First is hyperinflation. Okay, so this hyperinflation is hyperinflation. So this hyperinflation is period of very rapid increase in overall price. What is this? Rapid. Okay, so rapid increase in the overall rate of price, and rapid fall is also value of money, so much that people lose faith in currency of the country, and government may think in terms of using an alternative currency also. Like Zimbabwe and Argentina also face the hyper inflation. Second is galloping. What the term? Galloping. So galloping inflation is also known as hopping inflation, jumping inflation, or hopping, jumping, runway. These kind of like double or triple digit rise in the general price level, like 10 to 900%. Third is core inflation. What is that? Core inflation. Okay, so core inflation, this is defined on the basis of goods and services which may be excluded while calculating the inflation. Okay, so it is a popular concept used in Western economics which exclude energy and food. What excludes? Energy and food price. So they exclude the energy and food price articles while calculating inflation. Thus core inflation is inflation continued to non-energy and non-food articles. In India, non-food manufacturing inflation is defined as core inflation by RBI, and within the non-food manufacturing group are commodities like beverage, tobacco products, wood product, chemical and chemical products, and machinery and transport equipment also. So now next is stagflation. Okay, so stagflation is the term which is both unemployment plus inflation. It occurs overall price level rises rapidly during the period of recession, like there is a recession period. Okay, but still the prices rise. that is known as stagflation. Like India faced in 2008 the similar situation in the India also. Now what is the cause of inflation? Cause of inflation. What are the causes? Several factors are collectively responsible for inflation rise in the general price level. Like first is the demand pull. If there is a more money pumped by the government in the economy, then there will be the demand by the people to take the general articles. That is the demand pull inflation. Next is cost push inflation. If there is a general rise in the cost, then some luxury item will be in market. So now cost will be increased, but at similar point of time the demand will be increased. That's why this inflation creates. And former set of factors are those due to which there is overall rise in demand for goods and services in general. That is the cost pull. Okay, so factor due to which there is a shortfall scarcity in the supply of goods and services, and overall increase in the cost of productivity distribution of goods and services, all are related to that. Now mounting government expenditure. Third is government expenditure is mounting. Okay, if government expenditure is in a mounting condition, then government expenditure has been rising steadily over the year. It implies a rising demand for goods and services. Moreover, continue increase in the government expenditure has the effect of putting in large money income in the hands of the general public. They were rising their purchasing power. Okay, and the stoke in the fire of inflation. So rising the purchasing power will be there, and stoking of the fire inflation. In India, it is non-plan expenditure which is mainly responsible, because most of the non-plan expenditure is non-productive and hence only adds to purchasing power and demand without adding to production. So next is a deficit. What is next? Deficit financing or increasing money supply. So next is increase in money supply and deficit financing. Deficit financing. Okay, so deficit financing and increasing money supply will also cause of the inflation. Next is black money. Black money is a great huge impact over the economy. Okay, so black money and corruption both are like 50% of the India's GDP are close estimated black money, so has a major role in the fueling demands, thus leading to the rise in the price. Now population pressure. Next is the population pressure. India is the second largest populated country in the world. So growing population also puts pressure on the aggregate demand and price level. India economy is particularly affected due to pressure of population, which result in expansion of demand for goods and services in general and result in inflationary pressure over the people. Alright. Next is foreign exchange reserve. Foreign exchange reserves. Next is foreign exchange reserve. Like rise in foreign exchange reserves leads to the corresponding increase in the domestic money supply and fuel the inflation. As more foreign exchange comes into country, RBI has to create a corresponding domestic money also. So excess liquidity created in the system due to monetary and fiscal stimulus package, and rising income and wages in India have also pushed up demand. Like there is a income rising, wages is rising. That's why also put the demand. Now next one. Second one, what we discussed about, sorry, so what was the second one? Second was what? Cost push inflation. Okay, so factors, what are the factors? Fluctuation in the output and supply. One is fluctuation, output and supply, output and supply. So if there is a fluctuating output and supply, like violent fluctuation in output, so a speculative hoarding of the available, hoarding will be available in the Indian context. Shortfall in the agriculture industrial production are more often observed, so leading to the scarcity of goods and rise in price level. So seasonal factor play a very great role in that, creating shortage of agricultural goods in that. Second is rise in wages, as we discussed before. Rise in wages also will create then rise in productivity, push up cost, and thereby pushes up the prices also. Third is indirect taxes are known to have cost, like cascading effect, one of that. What is the cascading effect? So this cascading effect is indirect taxes. Indirect taxes are known to have cost that is known as cascading effect, and these taxes like excise, custom, what are the taxes? Excise, custom, raise the cost of production. As these taxes are on the commodities, their impact on the Indian economy's recent year has been much less because of general lowering of the custom and excise. Like government are lowering now custom and excise, that's why there's no more effect, but still that are effectful in this economy. Now infrastructural bottleneck, next one is infrastructural bottleneck. So this also affects like shortage of power, transportation, rise in the cost of production, and hence the price level will be in generally will be rise in the market. Next is increase the administrative prices. Okay, so administrative prices like procurement price of the food grains, petroleum price, and such other prices which are arbitrarily fixed by the government and tend to push up the price level also. So have a high weightage in the commodity, even in mains budget, that is high weightage in the common main budget. Okay, rise in import price is if there is a it pushes up domestic price level and leads to what is called the import cost push inflation. This factor is becoming increasingly important in the globalized scenario. Like while the above cost push factor are generalized set of factor built into the Indian economy. So I'm discussing here like artificial scarcity of some goods, that is also creating the inflation, and cartelization practice adoption by the essential commodity, particularly manufacturing goods like cement and steel. These practices are also increasing the inflation in the market. And entire entry barriers also there, like supply chain barriers, APMC Act is there, high fees charged from the state government, and new intent to trade their products in the regulated market, that's also the one of factor. Sudden flow of speculative capital in the commodities future market, which has some impact on the spot market also. So speculative capital if in the commodity future, then it will also affect the market. High margins appropriated by the middlemen all across the supply chains, so they are taking high margins, like middlemen are there, chain of middlemen, chain of intermediaries are there. Costlier import of some foods item like edible oil, so some food items have the costlier import also. Rise in international prices like crude oil price are increasing now. Okay, and speculation, hoarding, black marketing practice in the market, and depreciation of rupee making import costlier. Like some governments try to depreciate their rupee so that their import into making their imports costlier in the market. So that is the some factors which are responsible for the inflation. Okay, now we are discussing at cost of inflation. What is the cost of inflation? Okay, so cost of inflation, if asked to most people why inflation is bad, they would tell that it lowers the overall standard of living by making goods and services more expensive. That is, it cuts into people purchasing power. However, if the cost of basket of goods have increased from 100 to 1000, it does not mean anything in real terms. If people who once earned 5000 now earns 50,000, the reason is simple. If like someone is getting 100 before that and now he is getting 1000, now he is purchasing 1000 items, but before that what was his salary? That was only 5000, but now he is earning 50,000. In simple, he is not doing anything, it's in equilibrium. Okay, people income from wages of salaries, profit, interest, and rent increase during the inflation. Even like during the inflation they increase their wages, their salaries, the profit, the interest, and rent. The wage rate in the price of labor, rent in the price of land. Okay, and so on. So during inflation, most prices including input price tend to rise together, and input price determine both the income of the worker and the income of owner of the capital and land also. So that is the reason why that is not that much effective, but still inflation change the distribution of income also. What the factor that like whenever you gain or lose during a period of inflation depends on whether your income rises faster or slower than the price of the thing you buy. Like if your income was 100 rupees and you buy the 10 articles, but now your income is similar 100 rupees, but now you are buying only 8 articles. So what the effect you can see here. Okay, so it is more inflectionary. The group most often mentioned when the impact of inflation is discussed is people living on the fixed income. So fixed income people will never face that much, but if your income is fixed and price rise, your ability to purchase goods and service fall properly. Like your income was 100 and now also 100, but now you, before you was purchasing 10 articles, now you are purchasing only 8 articles. So your what your purchasing power will be reduced. So many retired worker living on private pension receive monthly checks that will never increase. Even the pensioners who are getting only 1000 pension from the government, the pension will never be increased, but if in the market the price level is increasing, they will face a lot. Okay, inflation causes imbalance in the economy also. Price relationship are badly distorted and production pattern goes out of the line of demand. And as a result, there is misallocation of resources. Capital resources available in the country get diverted from long term to short term uses. Production also will be shifted from long term to short term. Okay, so this all was the inflationary also. And if prices of non-essential good are rising and those of essential good are not, it will be more profitable to invest resources for the production of non-essential goods. Okay, for so what effect on debtor. Now we are discussing about it leads to recession in many sector of economy. Inflation also leads to recession also. How? Like for example, as a result of inflation, price of certain article of consumption in India have increased to very high level, forcing demand for such goods into decline. Similarly, inflation bring about a squeeze in the purchasing power, so that people incur increasing expenditure on essential goods because they have now purchasing power to buy something, then they will spend that money in the essential goods, while expenditure on the other goods decline and cause the recession. So other goods are causing the recession here. Okay, now effect of debtor and creditor. It is also commonly believed that debtor benefits against creditor. Okay, because during an inflation, for example, if you taken the loan of 1000 rupees to be paid back in 1 year and prices increases 10%, so this is increases 10%. So meantime I get back 10% less in real terms that loan due. I given you 1000 rupees. Okay, but now if prices increase by 10%, so I will get less amount from 10%. So debtor will be gain and creditor will never be gain. Increase risk and slower economic growth also. When unanticipated inflation occur regularly, the degree of risk associated with investment in the economy increase also. Increase in uncertainty also, and reluctant to the invest in capital and long term commitment also, because the level of investment falls, the prospect for long term economic growth are lessened. So rise in price level has eroded the volume of investment in real terms in the economy. Okay, it is distortion in the cost calculations also. Even the inflation also leads to rise in interest rate, and interest rate move in the tandem to keep abreast of inflation to put a curb in rise in demand for loans from banks. So that's why as the interest rate rises, investment always falls. That are some concept I just wanted to describe you. Now other impact of inflation. So inflation will create black money. Okay, this will create the black marketing. This will reduce the incentive for the hard worker. Like hard worker will never get the incentives now. Okay, incentives, so it will reduce the incentive. It also make export costlier, and to that extent may impact balance of payment. So export will be costlier now. Export will be costlier now, and it will impact the balance of payment also. BOP, balance of payment crisis will be there. Rise in interest rate due to the inflation can also make borrowing by the government costly, and thereby fiscal deficit will be there. Okay, so these all what we discussed today, the inflation and its effect. Hope you enjoyed this lecture. Hope you are got many things which in a broad term, what was the inflation, how it affected the market, what types of inflation were there, why inflation balancing is very very important to reduce the fiscal deficit and revenue deficit. All these fundas like I described here very briefly, very shortly, and very brightly.